Hello and welcome to this video about building in Enshrouded. In this video I will talk about how to improve a build by adding detailing and mixing materials. How you can use different type of materials and textures to make your build look a lot better. But before we start to do that, let's start by taking a look at the view. As the real estate agents say, location, location, location. And I don't think there's quite a location like this in Enshrouded in terms of view. This is the Cinder Vault right here for reference, and this is the Ancient Spire of Springlands. And you can fly from the Ancient Spire here, well, almost up here, if you have a high-level glider. Otherwise, you will just have to climb a lot. Look at this, you can see the whole map. Don't worry about the stone blocks over there. I just put them there to show something later on when we start working on this build. So, in preparation of this video, I wanted to make kind of a blacksmith hut. I will make like a whole base up here, like one little building for each NPC, and I will start with the blacksmith. And I was kind of googling reference images. I don't always do that when preparing for a build. Sometimes I just build, right? But this time I wanted to kind of have some reference, so I googled medieval houses, and I found this little model house that had this roof like this with a chimney leading up, and the blacksmith was placed over here, more or less. And I thought that looked really great, so I wanted to kind of steal that. So I think once we got all the materials in here, this will look really, really good. I did some modification in terms of like entrance and the rest of the house. We have a kind of a basement down here. Not much to it. No stair up from the basement to the other floors. Instead, the stairs are leading up here. And here we got the second floor. We got what will become a little toilet here. This will probably be the kitchen area. And here's some kind of storage above the blacksmith, and the stairs leading up to the attic. The attic would normally in a medieval house not be where you lived, maybe stored some things, I guess. But here I think I will have like a huge window here leading out to the amazing view outside, and maybe bedroom as such. Anyway, let's get started. I think the first obvious change of materials is the first floor that is made out of wood, and change that to stone, because a lot of these types of houses had a first floor made out of stone. And one thing to keep in mind is that if you want vines growing on the stone walls, you can't do it on all walls. You can do it on, this is the, let me check, castle wall stone block. That one accepts if you place dirt, not in all places, but in some places you get vines, right? This is the roughly cut stone block. You also get vines on this one. And this is the city wall block, and you also get vines in some locations on this one. For the other ones here, when it comes to stone walls, when it comes to wood walls, you also have some that actually get vines when you put dirt on them. You only get dirt if you place dirt like this, so you can't really get vines. And out of these three, I think the roughly cut stone block will be the one that kind of fits the house the most. Maybe this one as well. I might experiment between them. If you can't really decide what material to use, it might help to actually put them like this side by side in the build. And I'm actually quite sure after doing that I will go with the roughly cut stone block. I think that looks nice, a lot better than before. I won't really put the door back yet because I want to do something about the floor as well. I still want that floor to be made out of wood. I just want a more rugged look than it got now using the half timbered block. And I think the rough wood block will fit really nicely because it got kind of moss growing on it. The planks look really rugged. So let's exchange the floor in here for that. Remove these ones. Let's see if I can fit this in here. Here's a tip, like if I would place this one like this so it aligns, you kind of get this detail along the edge. So if you don't want that detail, like I don't have here, you just need to have it stick in below the wall. So let's grab this one back and let's stick it in like this, and you see now that thing disappeared there. Let's keep going here. And here. Yeah, that looks nice. Now let's do something about the threshold, and the easiest way to do that is grab, I've done this in plenty of builds, but let's remove all of these. And we can grab a bookshelf, depending on the texture you want on the threshold. This is more to get to get away from having this pattern again down here in the threshold. I don't really like that to have that. like this should be nice. And now we still have the pattern but on the inside, but if we grab something like this and make sure that we place that below the threshold, now you can see it disappeared, and we have a much nicer threshold here that looks more like the rest of the floor. Actually, this bookshelf could have been a tiny bit higher up, so I will actually fix that. The shelf is now a tiny bit higher up, and I think it looks a lot better. So let's put the door back in, but not the fancy door I used before, but rather this really basic one. I think it will fit a lot better with this section of the house. One little thing that you might find annoying if you kind of zoom in on details, like I tend to do, is that if you let the kind of floor go in below the stone walls, you can see this on the outside, that the stone walls don't meet the ground like they should. I exchanged a bit of the dirt road for ordinary dirt to get grass, kind of hiding that detail, as well as planting a bit of necklace and a bit of bushes over here as well. Over here I'm not as worried, because here all the blacksmith stuff will go, like the crafting benches and stuff like that, so that will kind of hide that detail over there. Let's move on to another section of the house. I think the upper part, before we start with more finer details, like the attic, the window there, and also I want different materials for several other sections of the house. One thing I find quite annoying when building in Enshrouded is where the wall is supposed to meet the roof. And the reason is because I care too much about details, I know, but it's because you either end up with this, where the wall kind of sticks through the roof, or you end up with kind of gaps like this. And I don't like that either, if you put the wall further away. But there is a way to solve it, and that is by actually using roof as a wall close to the roof. As long as you don't use the same type of roof. I was using stone shingle roof here on my house. So as long as you don't use the same type of roof tiles as you did for the roof, it will actually sit nicely, like or fit really nicely towards the roof. And I think the roof tiles block is really nice also because it kind of looks extremely close to how refined wood looks in terms of texture. So you can kind of use, if you use refined wood for part of your build, you can kind of use the roof tile block close to the roof, and it will look like it's pretty much the same material. So let's do that up here on the upper section of the house. Let's remove the first section here of cubes and replace that with a beam of refined wood. After we put the beam there, we just grab the roof tiles block and place it like this. You can see it fits nicely towards the roof here, with no bigger gaps, like there's small gaps there, but hardly noticeable. Another row of refined wood down here. It will blend quite nicely with the roof tiles, not perfectly, but good enough, at least if you look from the ground. Let's put the windows in. I will do the same thing for the window looking out here, and for this wall I will just replace the whole thing with roof tiles. So this is how the attic looks now. This window is of course not really medieval, but I don't care because it's my build and I think it adds a lot to this space. I had to do a little bit of experimentation before I got happy with this window, and this is the other section with the wall all made out of roof tiles. There are of course a lot of more stuff that needs to be done up here, but before we do that, let's move on to other parts of the house. I also removed the uppermost cubes all around the house to replace it with refined wood to have some consistency between like the sides of the house and the gables, but also to kind of move this beam here that's formed by like where the walls end one step down so that it would be visible below the roof. So I want this part of the house that is supposed to be a small little storage area to material wise match the attic or the gables of the house up here, so it will be a mix of refined wood and roof tiles. And I think, like, I probably should have started the video with this, but I think a good way to mix materials to make it look natural is to think about the reason why that material mix should be there. So for example, for the basement, it's made out of stone because stone is sturdy and it holds up the rest of the house. The attic, normally, well, I will put a bedroom there now, but normally it might be storage area, so you don't need as nice of material in the walls there as you do where you're going to live, where you need more insulation and stuff to keep it warm and not windy, right? So the storage area as well could be made out of a cheaper material because it also doesn't need as much insulation. So it looks quite nice now, although I don't think this section here looks like it fits in with the rest of that, as well as the pillars supporting it towards the ground. So I think like this section I will replace for refined wood as well, just as up here. And the pillars, for those, you can make something that looks quite a lot like wooden pillars out of plant fiber and straw roofs. I think these ones are a bit too bright. This one unfortunately is the one that looked least like wood, but it matches a lot better color wise, so I think we'll have to go with this one. Let's start by removing this section and put the refined wood there. So let's grab our plant fiber roof, because that was the one with the darker color, and just make a little pillar here. Unfortunately, we got this little detail up here that we will have to figure out a way to hide later on. This looks a lot better. We still have these kind of small corners that I need to do something about to hide later on. But let's replace this pillar as well and the pillar over there, so we have the same pillars all around the house. Before we worry about the finer details though, let's do something about the bathroom, because this one definitely needs to be more shoddy looking. Is shoddy a word in English? I hope so. So let's remove all the nice walls here. Also need to exchange that door, but that's a later worry, I guess. I don't want to mix too many different materials, so I will use the refined wood here as well. Let's see, one over here, as well as up here, and then outer wall as well, like this. And then you switch to the roof tiles here, and take the last part with those, so it blends nicely up with the roof. And there we go. Actually, when thinking about it, I might actually exchange this roof as well for a straw roof just for the bathroom. So this would kind of work, I think. Like, the reason for having the toilet stick out on the outside of the house would be to, I guess, hygienic reasons, but also you would be able to kind of empty it from the outside, so they would have kind of a lid or something here, and you can just grab whatever the bucket that was standing there and empty it out wherever you kind of emptied that stuff, right? In the living room, I first of all want to add thresholds to the doors, so let's remove a few cubes here. Oops, same over here. And over here. And I grabbed some shelves from the inventory. Same as I used for the basement or the first floor. Add one over here. One over here. And one at the front entrance. Then we can grab our floor. Let's see. And put that one back in place. And then we have to grab the doors as well. I want these kind of rougher doors here to the storage area and to the bathroom. And then we take the nicer one to the front door. The second thing I want to do is actually add an inner layer of walls. I've already prepared by kind of having a bit of space in between here. The reason for that is that this type of wall on medieval houses you would see on the outside of the wall, right? But you wouldn't really see it on the inside, because on the inside there would be like insulation and then a second kind of thinner like planks or something right on the inside of the insulation. So that's what I want to add here, is a second layer of wall on the inside to kind of make the texture of the inside of the living room different than that on the outside. I think the palm wood block will work really nicely for the living room because it kind of got this quite fancy texture. Let's see, like this. You also get kind of by yourself this really nice frame around windows and doors, so that's also helpful. So then the living room will look a bit like this. Oh, I forgot like a segment over here. Let's fix that. There we go. Except this one still looks a bit out of place, so let's remove that one and also replace that one with palm wood. There is one thing about this living room that I don't think look good right now, and that is all of those small parts sticking out here along the roof and also here at the stairs. These are mostly due to using half timber block as kind of the ceiling here, or well, the floor of the attic. So I will actually change the floor of the attic to a different material to not have that. I have replaced most of the floor up here now with refined wood. You can spot the difference here between the half timber floor here for the overhang that goes like a bit out from the house, and the rest of the floor here. The good thing is now if you look here below the roof, it looks a lot nicer. I also replaced the stairs with refined wood instead of the half timbered, and I think that looks better as well. Only thing we got now is a little bit sticking out here that I don't really think look that nice, but there's a little way we can mask that by putting maybe something like a pillar going out here, like a supportive beam, or supporting beam, maybe it's called, like this. I think that looks fitting, and it kind of masked the stairs a bit here as well. I think there is kind of always a fine line when building, and I'm not talking just enshrouded here or painting or whatever, right? Between adding too much detail with the build ending up cluttered, or not enough, making it not interesting enough. I kind of hope these supporting pillars here are on the correct side of that. I think they are. I think I will also add kind of a beam here that will also help with this little issue here with these beams having this little detail going in there. I'm using shroud wood for this because you get kind of really even planks like this. Let's see, like this, and over here as well. And you can see our little problem here with the pillars disappeared as soon as we have something going out a little bit on the side of them. So we solved like several problems at once here, and I think like this part of the house is now looking a lot more interesting as well. I added a few more changes. I topped off the chimney by adding a row here of roughly cut stone block to get this nice little edge on the chimney. I moved the door one step towards the left to be centered below this window. Added planter boxes here. Exchanged the stairs for shroud wood. I think it matches the beams here on the half timber blocks and looks a lot better than using half timber for the stairs. In front of the windows I also added some planter boxes. If you want to know how to make those planter boxes in front of the window, I have a video about that, so I will link it in the description below this video. Actually, the more I look at them, I feel like these windows might have ended up on the wrong side of that fine line between cluttering and just enough detail to make it interesting. So I will actually have to make a few small changes. Yeah, that's definitely better. Even though I made a lot of changes to this house, and I will actually end the video by kind of putting side by side how it looks now and how it looked when we started, we're not done. So this will be the first part of a two-part video, because what we got left to do here is blacksmith stations over here. We only got the kiln here. I think traditionally these ones were out in the woods and actually not at the blacksmith, but at least I put it a bit on the side. And of course everything going on inside of the house. I really like crafting survival games, especially the crafting part of those games, and also other games where players can invent stuff. So if that's your thing, if you think that's content you enjoy, you might consider subscribing to my channel, because I will make a lot more of that type of content. Also give a thumbs up if you like the video, leave a comment below if there's something you want to say about it, or like something you want me to make videos about in the future. Anyway, let's end this video by that side-by-side comparison.